That didn't work. Hey everyone, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com here again with the fast count. Now let's just start things off, because it's been like one of those weeks where I was like, oh, there's not that much news, and then like here and thereabouts there's been just bits of news dotted in, and then today one particular piece of WWE news has just kind of thrown the office into, we don't know if it's real or not, and I DM'd one of the sources saying, alright lads, is this real? And they never got back to me. They follow me on Twitter, but they never got back to me. But actually, let's just check. No, they've still not replied. We'll get to that. That's going to be the second news piece. But let's start off with the first news piece of all the news pieces this week's WWE news. Could Mauro Ranallo be returning to WWE? Of course, he officially announced that he'd severed ties with the company last week, but then this week on the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer wrote that there's still talks of getting him back. I can barely speak because it's so silly. I don't think this will actually happen, but you know, there's probably some lingering Mauro supporters within WWE who are like, wouldn't it be nice to get him back? But apparently these talks haven't moved up to a serious level yet. And I don't think they will, especially if those rumours of WWE being interested in Mike Goldberg, formerly the UFC play-by-play guy, if those rumours are true, then they probably won't need to get Mauro back as a MMA-style, legitimate-style sports announcer kind of guy. Succinct. So this is the crazy news piece that I was talking about at the start of the video. You know Vince's biopic that we did a video on earlier in the week, it's going to be called Pandemonium, and it's going to be, you know, released via WWE film studios and all the rest of it. Now that is, apparently a script has been leaked. Several news sources have reported on this across the wrestling community, 411mania, PW Insider, Wrestling News Co. Like they've all, WrestlingNews.co I should say, but they've all reported on it, and it's just, I'm just so skeptical. I'm just very skeptical about it being true. I don't know which part of the chain it's been kind of melded into something that it's not, but I just really have doubts about this. The reason that I'm so skeptical is because the details of the leaked script are f***ing ridiculous. Like, there's a scene where, first of all, Vince apparently meets Linda when she's a stripper waitress in like a cocktail bar, which isn't true. Vince McMahon's dad dies during the steroids trial, but he actually died before WrestleMania 1. That's not true. Vince discovers like Roddy Piper when he's in prison and Jimmy Snuka when he's a porn star, which none of those are true. The Junkyard Dog's a construction worker, I don't think that's true. Like, there's a scene apparently where Shane and Stephanie are getting bullied at school and they beat up their bullies. Like, they beat them up. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Shane just doing his like little, come on, and then jumping off a high thing, you know? The little brief few points that I've given there doesn't even begin to cover it. The script is apparently so ludicrous that I just can't buy it as a legitimate thing, especially since they're working in such close proximity to WWE in making the film. There's no way, if this is true, that Vince has seen it and gone, yep, I approve of that, unless we're all being totally worked and it's like a spoof film. It can't be true, but I really hope it is. So, if you've been paying attention throughout the week, you'll now know that Crazy Steve of TNA and of that Delete or Decay angle, he was part of Decay, he's probably going to go to WWE in the very near future, and WWE look to be signing another Impact Wrestling guy as well. That's right, the Impact Wrestling star Gunner is reportedly due for a WWE physical, which could see him jump ship, and also recently, this one might not be too kind of forthcoming, it might be like in the medium future, if that makes sense, but Adam Cole recently talked about his desire to go to NXT. I think we'll see Adam Cole in WWE at some point, but he still has a lot of, you know, a lot of life left on the indies, but maybe by the end of the year, maybe by next year, I guess. But yeah, but Gunner is apparently going to WWE, so there we go. And now it's time for all the unbelievable news in the, you know, elsewhere in the world of pro wrestling, but this time the WWE, that Vince's biopic thing is just, that's the most ridiculous thing I've heard all week. It can't be true. It just can't. Here's all the news from elsewhere in the wacky world of pro wrestling. Another report from Wrestling Inc. now, that's twice they've featured on today's show. They are really smashing it, as they say. Cody Rhodes is apparently looking for a permanent home. We all kind of knew this. He's looking for a permanent home, as he said to Sports Illustrated in his interview, because he's been kind of touring the indies and doing loads of great stuff, but he wants to settle down and he hasn't really given any clues as to where, but Wrestling Inc. claim that they have heard that he's about to sign a deal with Ring of Honor. This makes a lot of sense because at WrestleMania weekend, Cody seemed to be put in position for a title shot. He jumped Christopher Daniels after Daniels had just defeated Dalton Castle in a title match. It looked as though they were very much lining Cody up to be a future contender and possibly even future champion. On the other hand, it's hard to tell with Cody. He's kind of done his own thing on the indies, hasn't he? But I strongly suspect that when he's talking about this permanent home, Ring of Honor will be that home. And I'm just going to miss him greatly. And it's very sad. And I'm sure that our WhatCulture Pro Wrestling General Manager will miss his dog. I'm reliably informed that Plumpy wants to just the shit out of Cody's dog. The terrifying Minoru Suzuki is the new never openweight champion over in New Japan, having defeated Goto at one of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku shows this week. There's not much more to say on this story. Suzuki won. There's a bit of interference from El Desperado. So there's not much more to say. I'd just like to tell a personal story about Minoru Suzuki. I've met him and he's terrifying. And once at one of the shows I had to go into the locker room to fetch something from my bag. Went in there was no one there, it was during the show. I was like, oh cool. Went in my bag and I just heard this little noise. And I was like, what's that? And I peeked around the corner of the locker room into the next bit, and Minoru Suzuki was there asleep with a towel over his head. And it was like being in a room with a tiger that's asleep. It was horrible. And I was just so scared of, I just left. I grabbed my, my thing and I let, bit of a shit story really in the end, wasn't it, I guess. And I nearly saw his cock. No, that is true, I nearly saw his cock. But don't put that in, obviously. Yeah. I looked away. I looked away from, he was getting undressed and I looked away. I could have seen his cock if I wanted. Didn't want to, respect his privacy. That was when he was awake, like this wasn't when he was asleep. I didn't just have a peek. This was later on another day in a different venue. If we could all just be serious for a second, it's now time for more Japanese wrestling news because Bram of Impact Wrestling, he's been suspended by Pro Wrestling Noah for a controversial social media post which to me didn't look too controversial at all, but then I'm not an expert on the ins and outs of Japanese culture. Bram was pictured on his Instagram, I think, lying in one of those, like, in a supermarket or a store, as the Americans would say, lying in like a freezer on the ground full of ice cream cones and stuff. And he's lying in there, and that's funny because you're not meant to sleep there. It's not a bed. It's full of ice cream, not ice cream itself. It's protected from human contact. They're all in individual wrappers, so it's not. To me, it's not that bad. Maybe he broke a few, but like. Is it something to suspend someone over? I don't know what. Was that a massive faux pas over there? Bram's apologised and stuff and he's just taken it, so I guess it's bad. And apparently now Noah are going to make all their stars go on a social media training course. Poor Bram. And now it's time for and I don't know what the editing is going to be like for this, but it's time for my Wrestler of the Week. Is that just going to be nothing? This week, my Wrestler of the Week is none other than, well, a lot of them recently have been kind of high profile, like indie guys or Japanese guys, but like high profile ones, like, Shibata, Christopher Daniels, all the rest of it. This is a guy who's more of a young up-and-comer, but he's had a phenomenal week where he had a match that just sort of, it kind of was one of those moments that transcends wrestling and becomes like real life. It's TK Cooper, one of the South Pacific Power Trio and the South Pacific Power Trip, to give his tag team name, with Travis Banks. And the trio includes his real life and kayfabe girlfriend Dahlia Black. But TK Cooper is my Wrestler of the Week, and I'll explain why right now. Cooper wrestles in Progress alongside Banks and Black, and he and Banks had a match against the London Riots, kind of a big, hard, bastard tag team. And the South Pacific Power Trip have been heels for a long time now, and they've been gradually getting turned face just by having fucking amazing matches. And in this match in particular, Cooper was phenomenal, so was Banks, but Cooper was great. And they got a standing ovation after the match, they won. And the standing ovation was because Cooper and Black's visas run out, and they have to return to this is real life, they have to return to New Zealand to try and get like a new work visa. So hopefully they do, but there was a very real sort of poignant sense that this could be the last we see of Cooper and Black in Progress. Banks has still got his visa. I don't really know how it works, but basically Cooper and Black may not be back. And there was like a whole, this is the end, but maybe not kind of sense of like, oh my God. And then they gave them a title shot in the future and stuff. And it's all very open-ended, really good storytelling, all tied together with excellent wrestling. I don't think you can ask for much more than that. TK Cooper, you are my Wrestler of the Week. That's it, innit? See you soon. No!